Hello and welcome to an amazing podcast. This is modii,
And this is Modi.
and we are talking about keep your hands off of Eizouken, or take your hands off of the film club, or I'm trying to find, literally every time I try to look this up, I find a different title and a different stage of translation.
I always, when I was looking it up, it's such a weird name. What does Eizouken even mean, by the way?
Film club.
Oh, it means film club.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Eizouken ni wa te wo dasu na.
Okay, so this makes me have a different view about the show now, because if it's called Keep Your Hands Off the Film Club, it seems like the show is going to be more about them trying to keep the club up and alive and running, I guess.
So for people who are just coming in at home, basically what we have here is a show about three girls going to school and trying to start, big huge fans of art and anime, trying to create their own show and forming a filmmakers club to do it at their high school.
Yep. And by the way, their high school is so generous, and they have I don't know, they have such a big campus. They have buildings. They just have random empty buildings that they can use. They just happen to have all the equipment necessary to.
I mean, they did give them the room that was full of holes, tetanus, and was barely structurally sound. I mean, if they wanted to get money out of the school, all they had to do is threaten a lawsuit after Asakusa fell from the freaking banisters.
Yeah, by the way, I thought that was probably going to be a plot point later on, but that literally just ended up happening by the end of that episode. So
yeah,
that's pretty interesting. That's also why I was saying oh, maybe this is going to be about people trying to close down the club and them trying to keep it open, because they have the actress girl, the character designer, Mizusaki. She's being discouraged from doing anime, and then B, now this video is out there, and then this was gonna get in trouble, and then they're probably gonna try to shut down the club. So I guess maybe that's what it's really gonna be about.
So real quick, how did you starting off from? What did you think about the opening?
I like the opening. I like how colorful it is and upbeat and happy. Typically, I like that kind of stuff. I don't care much for the song itself, but I just like how upbeat it is. So yeah.
For me, that's probably my favorite of the year so far, and I gotta say,
really?
I love.
I mean, we're 12 days into the year,
right?
So.
I mean, my only issue is when it's animated, it's really great, but it's probably one of the first openings I've seen where halfway through they just stop. Each of the individual poses show a lot of each of the character's personality and kinetic, flowing, and just all around really well designed pose. As well as the little set sequence where all the blocks with different aspects of the characters flowing in. That's really nice. And then it just feels this feels like one of the best and least animated openings I've seen in a long time.
What do you mean by least?
Because the first scene has some each of the poses when they're in slow motion look really good and they move really well, but they slowly start increase speed where you don't get as much of them, and then you also have the really nice slow motion dancing sequences that are also really great, but then halfway through is just the slow pan of just random icons, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure.
But I feel like.
Go ahead. I was just saying, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw a pair of testicles in those icons, but maybe that's just me.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I feel like most anime have, not that much animation in the actual opening, you know? I don't think I see it that much. I feel like most of the time it's just, panning shots and... not really, just pictures of the characters and maybe a little animation, but this actually has more, especially in the beginning, like you said, it has more than the average, I would say.
But the problem is with the second half is it doesn't really give you anything fun to look at. It's just random icons. And
Oh,
yeah, maybe I'm
yeah.
just
Well,
like not looking at it hard enough, but like from first glance, and the purpose of the opening
yeah.
is to entice the viewer at first glance. I wasn't getting as much.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I like that stuff. Actually, that's probably why I don't mind it. Like, I like the little happy little icons, and
Mm-hmm.
I just like colorful stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So what are your overall beginning thoughts on the show? By the way, for anyone watching, we're covering the first two episodes. So
Yep.
this is our first impression of the first two episodes.
So this anime hit really too close to home for my liking.
Oh, really?
Yes. In fact, like, as some of you might know, I'm trying to pursue a career in animation myself, and like it made me realize something. I keep hearing all these stories about people being inspired by like Miyazaki and classic Disney and beautiful works, and I think back to like, damn, I was inspired by Dragon Ball Z, Power Rangers, and Transformers. I was solely inspired by corporate cash grabs. And part of me's like, yeah, I'm a
I
true
mean,
animation fan. I was inspired by 2 frames of animation. And it took you like what, 500? Ha ha ha. I'm a fan of real animation.
yeah,
Real
that's kind of
cheap
true,
animation.
and also this kind of like this show gives me the feel of the kind of show that would get someone interested in animation by itself.
Totally.
Just because it's like so, it's really unique.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how to, aside from the fact that it's like animated,
Mm-hmm.
which you know, it's animated a lot more than most anime.
Yes.
But just like the art style and the
Writing?
even the setting, like
Yeah.
it's technically like a pretty regular setting, but it doesn't feel regular.
Right.
You know, it feels like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of show that would get like a kid interested in animation. You
It
know?
feels like you're going on an adventure when you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually I can relate to that. Like the the idea of like what's the main character's name again? Azukasa,
Mm-hmm.
the like the background artist
Mm-hmm.
girl. Like she like her motivation to be an animator and all that, it really comes from like her wanting, like she wanted to be like an adventurer when
Mm-hmm.
she was little, right?
Right.
And I really feel that like that's the main reason that I like anime and like comics so much,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, yeah, you can't do that in real life, but like you can do it in your story, right?
Yeah.
And you can go anywhere and you can see anything and you can do anything. And like to me, that's probably like the biggest appeal of it. So I understand where she's coming from. You
And
know?
honestly, one of the things I really appreciate is the characters feel so real too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know some people have like, when this was like first coming out, people were comparing it to like some of those other shows where it's like, yeah, it's anime about being in a band, yeah, it's anime about gaming or whatever, but it just turns into more into like just cute girls doing cute things, and sort of just like throws the original premise to the background for like
Yeah.
semi-vapid fans. I'm so
Yeah.
happy it didn't go this route and actually went like deep into like just them getting stuff together to open up this or run this club.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely like not many shows actually have not only one like female main character, but like three female main characters, and without like, you know, just having them to there just to be like just for fan service or to be
Yeah.
objectified. So yeah, I like that a lot about it too.
Heck, a show like I said, 'cause again, like you said, yet shows like there was that one show about like the girls. Would you consider this moe?
This no, I wouldn't. To be honest, I really don't know if I even know what moe is, because I've seen so many things described as moe that I feel like I don't even know what it is. Not to mention, I don't think I've watched anything that can be described as moe.
Same.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I have. I wouldn't say this is moe. No,
Yeah,
I
because
wouldn't.
when I think of like, this is definitely like straight slice of life. Because when I think of moe, I always think of the whole marketing aspect of it, where it's just like cute stuff, cute stuff, cute stuff. Yay, market, waifus, buy our toys. Yay.
Yeah, I feel like my personal definition of moe is just any shows where the girls are like cute, I guess. Or I guess not just cute, but like they're
A
like
product.
no, not even that, because I feel like that's more like etchy, right?
Yeah,
But what I'm thinking of is just like the one of the appeals of the show is
true.
just just looking at the characters. I feel like that's probably like a requirement for something to be moe,
True.
and I don't think that I don't feel that same way about this show.
Right.
You know?
Honestly, give me props. This
Yeah.
is the first non-shonen slice show I've seen in a long time, and give me double props. This is the first slice of life series I can honestly conceive of watching.
If you like this show, there's another show that's kind of similar. It's called
I
Shirobako,
heard about that.
and it's really good. It's like one of my favorite shows. Like it's one of the few shows I've seen more than once, and pretty much it's a very similar premise. It's about these well, it's about this girl who graduates college and she starts work at an anime studio, and it's about like how about them making an anime, but like it's also about her and her friends who are also in school with her, and they each ended up doing different parts. Like one was a voice actress, one was she was like a producer, another was like a character animator, another one was like a CG artist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a similar premise. Tone wise, it's not that similar to this, but premise wise it is, and it's really good. Like it's really interesting.
But I really enjoyed this show. I haven't been like following this season as closely as I should be, because I know I think there are like 5 shows I had my eye on, but this is definitely looking like it might be the best. Like there was this one show. Honestly, the shows I've been seeing this season aren't really worth talking about right now, and the ones that are, we'll probably get into that later. But I definitely think this might be my contender for anime of the season.
Wow. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't even looked into any of the other anime this season, so I don't know yet, but I have a hard time seeing anything beating this unless it's something that I've like specifically been waiting for. Actually, Haikyuu is out this season, so that might beat it for me.
But is it a sequel or is it an actual new show?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's a sequel. And actually that's something else that this isn't something really big to mention, but I thought I would mention it anyway because I was actually like a couple weeks ago I was going back and I was looking at all the anime on my anime list that I've seen. Like literally I've probably seen like maybe 70 or so anime.
Nice.
Probably only like 4 or 5 of them are anime originals. All the rest is mainly manga adaptations or what is it called? Or light novel adaptations or something like that. So and I'm really trying to change that. And so you know what? This show is based off of manga too. Never mind.
Seriously?
I went on that whole train of thought under the assumption that this was an anime original, but no, this is based off of manga actually.
That's hilarious. 'Cause I swear, because I know. That's honestly that's meta as heck. A manga about making anime.
Yeah, that's true. That's really interesting.
That's worse than like Bakuman. It's Bakuman, right? Not Bakuman.
Yeah, Bakuman. That's also another one of the greatest. It's so good. It's made by the same guys who made Death Note, so obviously it has a lot of tenseness to it.
Yeah. But so, any other thoughts about the show?
General thoughts, no. We can talk about we can get more into specific stuff. But yeah, generally I think anyone who's interested in anime would enjoy this show just actually off the educational aspect of it. It's entertaining, but just from these first 2 episodes, and I'm more of an animation nerd than the average person, right? I feel like I probably know more about animation than most people, you and I, right? But even me, I learned some stuff that, from this. Like the whole part with when they were showing that really old school, like,
Windmill and
animating
yeah.
machine. I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. Because I've seen that machine before, but I've never seen it explain how it works,
Hmm.
And even just like with the whole windmill thing, like this actually something I want to talk to you
Mm.
about. It's really interesting how they show like
The
the
dailies.
way the day yeah but yeah we'll get into the dailies, but what I
Mm.
was gonna say was how it's interesting how they show the way that someone who's like working on an animation thinks, and
Hmm.
you've done a lot of animation so far, right? So like when they show Asakusa like actually thinking about how the mechanics of how stuff works and if it makes sense.
Mm.
I know animators do think about that stuff, but do they think about it that much? Because to her, it seemed like
If they don't, they
it like
should. After watching that, I'm like ready to get
yeah,
my crap
yeah,
together. Dang, I need to
exactly.
get my
Because
all my shit together and sell it to the shit store.
yeah, because like she gets so into specifics of like the mechanics of how like the machines work, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh well, if it was rotating at this torque, obviously this wouldn't happen. So like it can't be designed like that. But I really wonder if animators really think about it that deeply, because I feel like if you do, then you would actually be really restricted, because like obviously if these things are actually viable, like wouldn't they just make it in real life? You know what I
I
mean? Like
think it depends. Like, there's like a there. It's a spectrum because like you do have some anime that just that forgo that whole realism thing, and you've seen it a lot. Like you see it in stuff like JoJo's. You see it in like etchy and all that kind of stuff. Like there is a sense of realism. There are those who just throw realism to like the wind, but there are
yeah,
also those kind of animators that do like focus on those tiny details. And then again, you have like the whole middle ground. And I think honestly, like JoJo's kind of falls into the middle because you do need to understand how something works to model it or create it efficiently. You need to have you need to understand how things work to be able to depict it realistically.
yeah, yeah.
Because then that's again a
Yeah,
thing
I
I
agree.
personally need to work on
The
so much.
way
No.
to me, like her approach to it, I don't know much about Miyazaki, but I imagine that's how Miyazaki thinks about things. Like if I just think back to his movies and like the contraptions
Hmm.
they have, they everything feels, obviously it's like in a completely different world, and even sometimes like actual fantasy worlds,
Hmm.
but it's like everything feels real and feels like it could be, even if it's not realistic. So I feel like the way she thinks about it is probably like the same way Miyazaki thinks.
Because that's the thing. Like sometimes I know the director game called Skullgirls is animation isn't just what you see; it's what you feel. So like there are
Yeah.
so many that even with me putting all my time into it, I still don't fully understand. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really accurate way of like whole of depicting that whole process.
Yeah, that's true. Like going back to the windmill again, the whole thing about how, yeah, you can show the windmill moving, but if like you can really get the feel of it if you have like debris around it, or like show the wind streams around it. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's so true." Like these are the kinds of things they think about. It's pretty interesting.
And that's the great thing about having a group because when you're doing that, when you're doing it on your own, it's crazy because you're just like, what am I not doing right? What am I doing right? Why doesn't this work? Why doesn't this work? Yada yada
Yeah,
yada.
exactly.
But once you have that
There's
group,
always something you're going to miss.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And also, speaking of which, of them working in groups. Okay, is it me, or are they just unbelievably like naturals? Like they're geniuses.
yeah,
Like they make animations in like an afternoon. Like it's not a big deal.
yeah,
Not to mention they're sharing like one light box. Weren't they sharing like one light box
yes,
and doing it? That's so crazy. Like, man, I wish I was that good.
yeah. Me too. Me too. Like holy crap! Like again, it was just like that should just be called Oma needs to get his crap together. The anime.
It's funny. It's funny how how lucky they are in just like every way, right? They go to this huge school with this awesome campus with all this money and the building and the equipment and all that. And on top of that,
The
there's
actual
two
anime
like
club is
prodigies.
And I was about to say, like, and the anime club is actually just defunct for no reason because of chill mode.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and so, and like, you know, they're both prodigies and they can make anime very easily, it seems. So do you think they're going to end up like bringing in more people, or do you think it's going to stay the three of them?
I think part of me feels like it should, because it should be just their journey and them like doing a full on like feature film, which is a stretch like hell. Like,
I know.
Jesus, like that is only in anime could 3 high school students do a traditionally animated feature film. That is only in anime. I find JoJo's Bizarre Adventure more realistic than that.
No, but you're so right, and that's exactly why I think it's not going to happen, because I feel like there is no person in this entire world who actually makes animation and makes anime that would write a story where 3 high school girls made an anime, like made a feature film in like a year or something like that. Like they would, I feel like if you were the person like directing this or like writing this or even doing the storyboards or whatever, it would be physically painful for you to write something like that into the story.
No, if I was like, if I had to write something like that into it, I would just say like, screw it, I'm adding stands, I'm adding magical girls, I'm adding kaijus. I'm going
like since we're being unrealistic, let's just yeah, so
like
I don't think that's gonna happen. They're probably gonna end up changing it to like a short film, which even that is a stretch, but like that's probably what they're gonna end up changing to.
No, I mean like literally that would be the point where just suspension of disbelief is just taken out back and shot in the head. Like I would be down for a short film, like a 10-minute film, because like that at the same time feels like a really huge challenge, but it feels like an anime level challenge, where it's the kind of thing where you just like have this huge mountain, and through shonen power and belief and friendship, you actually overcome it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a short film that they're going to end up doing. But yeah, so
I would love it.
What do you think about the?
I would actually love it if they actually went into like they decide to go the full feature length film, and then they start going through all of the different techniques anime uses to like cheap out on animation. They DBZ it,
and then they end up making a 2-hour long PowerPoint presentation. That would actually be a great plot twist. That's what this should be about.
Dude, I actually did that. I had an animation class, and I literally, like, for the final assignment, it was supposed to, like, everyone was, like, doing 1-minute long scenes. I was literally, like, did, like, a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation epic. Motion comic, air quotes, that, again, hits home for me.
That's funny. That's so funny.
Got a decent grade,
yeah,
though.
Like...
Got a decent grade. Said something about the animation class I was taking, but that's another story.
If this show is actually being realistic, what'll happen is that's what'll happen. Like they'll make a 1.5 hour long PowerPoint presentation as their feature film. They lose the competition and then they quit animation, and that's like an actual realistic story.
See, I would say the opposite. It would be like they do the 2-hour long presentation, they lose, but then it's just like, it doesn't matter because we're going to keep trying, we'll never give up, and we'll keep moving forward. That feels like the kind of like sports, quote unquote anime kind of vibe I would get from this.
Yeah, I would agree if I saw the show going on long, but I don't see it going more than 13 episodes. So
same. This is a 12-episode anime easily.
Yeah, definitely. If it turns out that it's longer, I will be so impressed just because of like the quality of the animation.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you know it's getting a live action film?
Huh?
Did you know it's getting a live action film?
This?
Yep.
Oh, I think I did. Yeah, actually, I think I saw that on the Wikipedia page that they're getting a live action.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like that would be interesting.
I feel like you would lose a lot of the cinematography for that, though. Like, it would
Yeah,
add a nice sense of realism to it, but at the same time, you would lose that adventure feel. Because I know for a fact that I would not expect the whole environment in school to look like it does in the actual show.
yeah, I agree. I feel like they're gonna try though because Japan never shies away from doing like weird, like just like shoving in like
CG.
CG and like fantasy and stuff in like places where it really doesn't belong. So I feel like I will not be surprised if they literally end up doing those scenes at the end of the episode where they actually go into their animation in the world and whatnot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
will not be surprised if they actually try
I
to do
would
that
put
in the live action.
I would put money on them actually doing that, but like the real world sections, I guarantee you that's going to lose at least 90% of the imagination it had in the show.
I feel like making this into a live action movie or show or whatever it is actually has potential in a different way
Mm-hmm.
because if you can play up the realistic side of making an anime, then that could actually be really interesting.
Oh,
Like
totally.
if they don't try to if I think if they don't try to like appeal to like the adventurous side of the anime and the manga, and they actually like maybe lean more in like the serious side and like how hard it is and whatnot, then it could actually be interesting. Like it could be an interesting different take on the story.
Okay, okay, I just want to like point something out real quick. We're getting a live action adaptation of an anime that has a character who dislikes live action adaptations of stuff and wants to be an animator.
Not to mention this is all originally a manga.
Exactly. That is the
It's
very
so
definition
convoluted.
of irony.
Yeah, like if she knew this is what was being done, she would absolutely hate it. Yeah. So what did you think about the art style?
I liked it. It was different and it's weird. Like whenever like anime kind of like strays from like this traditional art style, it's always sort of a hit and miss. And I
Hmm.
think this is more of a hit because it's very on model. The characters' anatomy and proportions are usually very on point. And I think it has a very like home grounded sort of like day in the life kind of vibe where everything isn't like super exaggerated like you would see in most
Yeah.
anime, and I think it all works for it in its favor. I feel like this is an anime it's one of those shows where it's supported by its art style. Like you would see shows
Yeah.
like Naruto or show like pick a random show. Like I feel that the art style looks the way it does because it's an anime. I feel like the art style in this looks the way it does because of the story that's being told.
Yeah, and so something that's interesting to me about this is so this show is made by Masaaki Yuasa. He's done other stuff like Ping Pong and also Devilman Crybaby.
On the list.
So so the thing like I see something similar across all his shows
Mm.
in terms of art style, like the characters. But like it's definitely if you look at the characters, it's always different character designs. So it's not like he's doing the character designs.
Mm-hmm.
But there's in all of his shows, all the characters have this quality of being like simple but really expressive,
Yeah.
you know?
I was almost about to say
And I don't
Linky for a
know,
second.
huh?
I thought you were about to say Linky for a second.
Oh no, not Lanky. Well, I guess in Devilman, but yeah. But like so they're like always like the character designs are like really simple but somehow still like really expressive, almost in the way that like Miyazaki has it. Although
Mm-hmm.
with Miyazaki the character designs are consistent.
Yeah.
Whereas with him, across his shows, the character designs are not consistent,
Mm-hmm.
but they all have that quality. So I really wish I knew enough to understand what it is that he does
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Like because it's not like it's just the same character designs over and over, but like
It almost
it's
feels
really interesting, and I like how he does that. It feels like refreshing.
it feels like a handwriting kind of thing, where everyone writes, everyone knows how to everyone in North America or wherever you're from, everyone knows how to write the language, but everyone writes that language in a different way.
Yeah. That's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like the art style, and even more than the character designs, I actually like the backgrounds a lot. Like,
Backgrounds are
oh my god,
so nice.
the background art is beautiful, and honestly, that's something that in a lot of anime goes unnoticed, and not for bad reason, because a lot of anime the background art is pretty just generic
Mm-hmm.
and nothing much to really notice.
Because all
No
the
offense to
action is
those
in the
anime or
foreground.
anything, huh?
All the action's in the foreground. Like if you're
Yeah,
watching any
exactly.
shonen anime, things are usually moving
Yeah,
so fast that the backgrounds don't really matter as much.
yeah, exactly. But the backgrounds here are so beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and like it kind of works too. It makes sense because the main character is pretty much like a world building type
Right.
background artist type character. So it would be kind of sad if they didn't put energy into the backgrounds. So,
Right.
and that's also another thing about this when I was talking about like the educational aspect of the show, I guess. I never really thought, because like when I think about anime production, like even in that other show I was talking about, like Shirobako,
Mm.
they didn't spend that much time talking about background art. They did a little bit, but not that much. So it's really interesting to see how much what really goes into like the artists who make backgrounds and like who actually build the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like really interesting. In some ways, it's even more interesting than character art to
Oh
me.
yeah.
Like it seems really cool. It's
Mm-hmm.
fun. Yeah. What
Anything else?
else? No. Oh yeah,
All right.
actually there was one thing.
Mm.
So I just thought it was funny when they made that comment when like they were animating, and then she was like, "Whoa, this the actress girl Mizusaki."
Mm.
She was like, "Whoa, this is so hard. Like, how much do animators even get paid?" And then I like started laughing when she said that, and then Azukasa said, "Oh, and we're not getting paid anything. Like, we're doing this for free." And I was like, "Oh my!" Like, I was like, "This has to be like a self insert from the animators, just like." Complaining.
Yeah, and that's the
They're
interesting.
like it's them saying like, look at how hard we work and we don't even get paid, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
yeah,
interesting thing. Is like I wonder if that was like the first part where I was like wondering like when does this take place in time? Because they're going through all of like the old like traditional techniques, and
hmm,
I think they mentioned tablets, but it's kind of interesting because it feels like it takes place in its own sort of unique time period.
yeah, actually, yeah. The only thing that indicated the time period to me was really just
I
the
mean,
fact that she was using a smartphone and like there's viral videos and whatnot. So
mm,
like I feel like it's current times, but yeah, the way they're going about animating, like it's very old fashioned. Clearly,
it
I guess they don't have tablets and stuff, but like even without tablets, like if they're going to be using that big machine,
mm,
then that's really taking it back.
no, because it feels like it takes place in I want to say 80s, but with modern day technology. Like this feels like an 80s story.
Really?
Yeah, I won't say it feels like an 80s story, but it feels like the story takes place in the 80s.
Huh. Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen that much stuff in the 80s, so I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
what to compare it to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. With that said, how would you rate it?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay. I would give it so far a 7,
Mm-hmm.
7 to 8, something like that. I don't know. I want to see how the show ends up.
Right.
Um, but as of now, it's at the very least a 7 and no more than an 8, I would say.
So for me, it's complicated. Like the unbiased, critical part of me is like a solid 8, but the emotional part of me is just like 9, 9, 9, 9. Because again, I'm biased. Like I'm a sucker for all that animation stuff and that whole like all that passion. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that strikes my like bias chord really easily. Now,
So,
how many episodes do you think you'll get through it?
oh, I'm definitely gonna watch the whole thing. There's no doubt
So,
about that.
yeah, for
I don't
me,
think I would pass up any anime that was about making anime. I don't think I would ever do so.
it's getting complicated. Like I see myself watching the dub all the way through, and I know we just got like a bunch of dislikes. You dub scrub! But the reasoning behind that is just the animation is so beautiful, and it's so dialogue heavy. It's such a pain for me to like constantly have to rip my attention from like the bottom portion of the screen to always be staring at the subtitles.
Oh, oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of true. I feel like yeah, if the dub is good, then that's probably a good idea.
And honestly,
But
I
yeah,
want to like throw this out real quick. Like, it always drives me crazy when people are just dub haters because, yeah, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, dubs are crap. But nowadays, there are a lot of good quality dubs out there. Like
I
that.
feel like I feel like the reason it's like that is because I feel like okay, it's kind of complicated. So yeah, the people who don't like the dub, I would say, are people who like grew up with like early 2000s shows
Mm-hmm.
where the dubs weren't that great, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when
And
I say that,
so
I mean, like, people who just hear the word dub and then automatically assume it's garbage.
yeah, yeah, but that's like so that's the beginning of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the dubs weren't that great, but even then, like as a kid, you didn't mind if the dub wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
But then so you watch a show, you want to keep watching, so then you go to the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they went to the internet and like the subs were a lot better and like and especially it's not just like the dubs being worse, but it's just that the subs and especially the fan subs added so much that when you like remember the old fan subs, like how much detail they went into, like they gave you like little tidbits about the culture, what specific words mean. They didn't even translate some words. They did like
Yeah.
the karaoke thing with the openings and the endings. They put in so much work, right? And then on top of that, you have the actual Japanese voice actors, and like a lot of the stuff that they say sounds so much cooler, right?
On top of the fact
So
that it's uncensored and you can completely binge it.
right, uncensored and binging, right? So all of that kind of gets compiled into the sub experience. So even if dub isn't that bad, it makes it feel that much worse compared to subs, right?
Yeah.
And that a big part of the reason was just because subs you could much more easily get access to anime through subs than through dubs, right?
Mm.
So I feel like people who were growing up in that time era probably a lot of the time that I see people criticize dubs, that's who it is. Like people like in our age group, right?
Right.
So, but then I would say younger people, like people who are like teenagers now, like people who are like, even like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
Mm-hmm.
those people, from what I see, they actually like dubs. And I think that's
Right.
because dubs a, of course they've gotten better, but B, there's also much more dubs available,
Right.
and also C, subs have gotten worse relative to dubs because now the subs, like fan subs, are almost non-existent, especially for like the big popular shows.
Yeah.
So and the main subbers don't really put in as much effort. To be honest, they don't put in as much effort as the fan subbers used to do.
Mm.
So now subs, even though sometimes, of course, they can be better and sometimes dub can be better, they're not as good compared to dubs as they used to be back in those days. So I feel like now people actually have, especially younger people, have less of a stigma on dubs. But yeah, there's definitely people who still are kind of like stuck, where in that mentality where like dubs suck,
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that, but I think it has gotten better. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
I mean, if it hasn't, we wouldn't have as many dubs as we have now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right. I think there was something else I was gonna say, but oh yeah, okay. So I was also gonna say about the whole how you ranked it, how you said like your logical side is saying 9, right? Or was it your logical side is saying 8, but your emotional side is saying like 9?
Yes.
For me, it's the opposite. I said between 7 and 8. For me, it's sorry.
Mm.
My logical side is saying 8 just because just purely out of technical quality, the show's pretty good. Like if I'm just talking technical quality, I would even easily give the show a 9 or maybe even a 10,
Mm.
right? And the premise is also really good. But I guess my personal side is what's bringing it down to a 7,
Mm.
just because although I like the premise and I like the way the show looks,
Mm.
it's not like I'm not really. It's not gripping. I don't know.
Right.
Like by the end of episode 2, I'm not like on the edge of my seat waiting for episode 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting and I like the topic and it's a really beautiful show, but it's just like if it wasn't about people making anime, just even despite how like good the show looks, if the premise wasn't people making anime, I probably wouldn't continue with it. So that's
Right.
probably what brings it down to a 7 for me personally.
If it wasn't Moe, I probably wouldn't continue it either.
Yeah, that's true. That would probably deter me. It's kind of like Food Wars, you know? Like Food Wars actually kind of has a pretty interesting premise, but then they go so hard, especially in the beginning. They go so hard with the fan service. It's just like,
Just watch.
why can't we just
Toriko.
enjoy the? Huh?
Just watch Toriko.
Yeah, exactly. Like but whatever. That's another conversation.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, anything else you want to say?
That's it.
Okay, all right. So that's it for this week. Thank you for watching our first impressions of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, episodes 1 and 2, and tune in next time.
All right. Have a good time. Stay safe. And that's been the Animazing Podcast signing off.